Hello, everybody. I think we'll make a start because we're at the top of the hour. Welcome to our tourism and leisure webinar. Could fellow speakers now turn on their cameras, please? That would be lovely so we can see everybody. That would be great. Right. Yeah, tourism. The UK government has announced the first of the green list destinations. And travellers returning from a green list destination will not need to quarantine on arrival into the UK. But the messages from the government are horribly mixed. One government minister is saying okay to travel, another one saying it is dangerous to travel. And those on the green list, I mean, it's a mixed bunch. So we have Portugal, we have Israel, Singapore, but you're not allowed to travel as a tourist. When you reach Singapore, you have to have 21 days quarantine. They're the same for Australia, which is on the list, and for New Zealand. Then there's Brunei. Not sure I want to holiday in Brunei, but there you go. Iceland, yes, that sounds quite fun. Gibraltar, Falkland Islands, impossible to get to. The Faroe Islands, South Georgia, I've been told it's got no hotels, and the South Sandwich Islands has got no inhabitants. And then we have St Helena, Tristan da Cunha, and Ascension Island. I think, again, they're quite difficult to get to. So the whole thing, to my mind, is a bit of a farce. But that's me speaking. TUI and EasyJet are offering amber holidays despite government advice. On the Beach, which is an online company, but I've also just heard that they're in financial difficulties as they're having to make so many refunds. They're one of the UK largest online travel agents. They've actually stopped selling holidays in June, July, and August as just too complicated, and also because they've had to make too many refunds. With the myriad of different requirements, it has never been more important to speak to a specialist. And here they are. That's a very good segue in. I'm really pleased. First up is Deepak Nangla of Brightsun. Brightsun is a travel business started in 1986 in London, but now based in Hounslow since 1998. Prior to the pandemic, with revenues of 200 million, those revenues have been crippled by COVID-19 and the travel restrictions. Deepak is a member of the ABTA Aviation Committee, part of the CAA Atoll Safety Group, and has been associated with Heathrow expansion through London Chamber. Deepak, over to you.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Sally, for having me on the panel. I just want to talk about some of the things that have impacted our business and maybe speak about a little bit about what I expect in the future. So first of all, as you said, we've had revenues actually slaughtered. This mimics what goes on, what Heathrow Airport says. So Heathrow Airport numbers, starting from March 20, went down to around 47% and eventually went down to 3% down in April 20. If I look a year on now on where we are, that has actually gone down to around 8% over where we were in 2019. So effectively, we're not really seeing any improvements as far as the pandemic has gone. If we go back a year, many large consultancy firms such as GT, Deloitte, and so forth had predicted the pandemic would be lasting or affecting the travel industry until 2023. Those forecasts have now been increased, and we think that by the end of 2024, the aviation industry certainly will not see 2019 figures. If I talk roughly about how that impacts the UK, in revenues from, so essentially Brightsun is a mainly an aviation business. About 5% of our revenues are driven from accommodation and cruises and so forth, but 95% is driven from air. And what I'll be talking about really is about long haul, because that is our speciality, leaving the shores of the UK. So staycations and so forth were not our forte prior to the pandemic. If I look at the UK's aviation strategy, I believe that the government was a little bit late in closing off their borders. It should have been done prior to possibly May or June 2020 when they got their act together. But when they got their act together, I think what's happened is that it's been too restricted. Having 185 countries on the amber list does not give the opportunity for aviation to recover, not now or for the foreseeable future for 2021. We are now forecasting that we will not see revenues until the analysts had forecast, until what the analysts had said, which is late 2024. This leads us to say, what do we do with our business? We did have 250 people employed in the business. It's been drastically cut. We probably have about 150 left, and that could even drop more because our revenues are currently 25%. So very similar story to what the airlines are doing. We're also bleeding. If I talk a little bit about the airline business, the total losses for the airlines this year or in 2020, and this is a global, and of course you can imagine most of these will be the mainstream airlines like Air France, Lufthansa, KLM, Emirates, and so forth, is around 119 billion for 2020. That's an awfully large figure if you look at the profit margins that the airlines make, which is in the region of 3 to 5%. We're expecting a loss this year also in 2021, but that's about $40 billion. The loss has gone down because I think the airlines have managed to get all the excess refunds back to customers. What's happening with our business is very much in line with what the aviation industry is seeing. We are looking at customers, we are making it a loss of every transaction that we do. So effectively, we go out, we make a transactional sale, and there is a 50% chance they'll end up in a refund later on. So therefore, in our industry, we have to employ people to make the sale and then employ people to give the money back. The reason is because the government's guidelines have not been clear about what you can and cannot do. The sectors as we look forward, which are open, are realistically for us, Portugal, Iceland, and Gibraltar. If we look at the UK's passenger manifest, that sort of forms about 2.5% of the business or the aviation business that was there previously. So on 2.5%, our business is not going to be able to survive with those customers. As far as customers are concerned and talking about their safety, just want to give a little bit of advice about to people who may be in a situation where they've made a purchase and are worried about what they can and cannot do and what their rights are. Effectively, if first of all only deal with a company which is holding an ATOL license. Once it's holding an ATOL license, you're ensured that the government is protecting your monies. If the company is not in a position to offer you a refund at a particular time, then please ensure that you get a refund credit note from the ATOL company, because in the event that that company continues to go bust, you will still receive a refund of the monies paid from the government as long as the refund credit note mentions the amount that you are going to you have paid the particular company. That could be a deposit, it could be the full payment. As far as travel is concerned, and the government guidelines are concerned, we are speaking to APTA, who has an aviation committee, who are lobbying the government to say some of these amber list countries are not reporting correctly their numbers, and so therefore should be put on the red list. But consequently, some of them are reporting, and more than 70% of their population has received maybe 2 doses of vaccination. So similarly, we can't understand why they're still on the amber list. So the lobbying is taking place through ABTA for that, but again, government will make its choice, based on their evaluation, I guess, of their local situation, ambassadors, and so forth. If I look at the forward bookings in which destinations are affected the most, the biggest loss that we have seen is to Europe of 62%, Middle East 64%, Latin America 60%, Africa 62%. Realistically, that is the entire world which has been cut off from the UK. So I am now going to pass on to the next speaker. And thank you very much for allowing me to speak on this platform.
Thank you very much, Deepak. Thank you. That is sobering listening. I'm just thinking of your staff down from sort of 250 to 150, and then maybe less, and the fact you're employing people to sell holidays and then to refund them. As I say, sobering listening. Next up is Maggie Smit of America As You Like It. Maggie, do you want to tell us about what's going on in your world? Sorry, you're muted. Bottom left hand, that's it.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. I own a travel business which sells mostly long-haul holidays with tailor-made trips to America and Canada, with America and Canada As You Like It, wildlife and soft adventure holidays all over the world with Windows on the Wild, and fly fishing and game fishing holidays all over the world with Go Fishing Worldwide. We do have a CAA ATOL license, so everybody is fully covered. We as a company have been very badly affected with restrictions on travel and have had no income since March last year. The travel industry employs 8 million people in the UK, and many in the industry feel that the sector has not been recognised during the pandemic. It generates a huge amount of revenue, both domestically and internationally, as well as employing large numbers. Hounslow has a large number of people employed in the travel sector, supporting Heathrow Airport in many types of work. The council has been very proactive in supporting businesses with both guiding them towards available grants and offering extremely helpful webinars and networking sessions. Travel agents generally have received some help, as many of them have had to close and so qualified for grants. As a tour operator, we have not closed and have been very busy as we've had to continually cancel and reschedule existing bookings with no income at all. The opportunity to furlough staff has therefore not been possible, so we have still had large costs. Unfortunately, we seem to fall between the gaps for subsidies for our businesses, as do many other tour operators. ABTA, the Association of British Travel Agents, has taken its first steps in a legal battle against the government to challenge the inadequacy of support for the travel sector. There is still a huge demand and interest in travel, but clients are reluctant to book until they know they can go away. The problems that we all faced last year when rules were changed with no notice and travellers had to try and get home in a rush is still in many minds, and the current list of countries not very long or very practical. It seems pointless putting Australia and New Zealand on the green list when they are not allowing tourists into their countries. The list of countries is supposed to be reviewed every 3 weeks, but that doesn't really allow anybody much time to plan or book a trip if they want to travel this summer. There is a lot of pressure to review this, and we are hopeful that this will change. Many are keen to travel, but again worried about the cost of PCR tests, and there is little help to get these prices reduced. Using lateral flow tests instead of PCR tests would reduce costs enormously and make travel easier. Lateral flow tests are available to UK residents free of charge up to twice a week and used for mass testing in schools and workplaces. So why can't they be accepted for travel, particularly for those who have 2 vaccinations? Thousands of lorry drivers arrive in this country on a daily basis using these tests. So why, again, can they not be endorsed for travel? I know that British Airways is challenging the government on this too, so we'll wait and see. Everyone has had a lot to put up with during the past year, and the least they could know is that they could be given the allowance to travel when they've had 2 vaccinations, instead of continuing to make life difficult. We are still hopeful for us that America will open up in not too distant future so that will make our lives much better. And of course, the arrival of the Indian variant doesn't help either. Again, clients before traveling have to have a PCR test and give their contact details by completing an online passenger form, providing proof of a negative COVID-19 test 72 hours before you travel, and taking another test 3 days before you return to the UK. All the complexities around what is required to travel, even to a green list country, is also putting people off booking, as they don't want to be caught out by not having completed all the steps. Countries need to liaise with each other to help travel get back to normal. The drama of Portugal being on the green list from the UK, but Portugal not allowing us to enter, is a perfect example. Luckily, it is now sorted out, but it certainly does not encourage anyone to make plans. The World Travel and Tourism Council is urging countries to liaise so as to make travel possible, so it's hopeful that this will improve. At the moment, airfares and hotels are all fairly reasonably priced, but the cost of airfares could increase once people start to book holidays. Airlines have already cut back capacity on many routes, so there could be pressure on flights. Major operators are desperate for people to travel and get income, but they're also very competitive, which does keep the prices down. They're all keen to get people to book with them rather than their competitors, which again looks after the prices. I do not believe that travel will become a privilege of the wealthy, as it is just too competitive, and there are so many people in this country wishing to travel. The weather this year has been bad, which makes people want to go somewhere they can relax and enjoy the sun. And it is also now almost impossible to find accommodation for staycations here, as many places are sold out and it is expensive. I believe that prices will remain competitive for the rest of the year, but for 2022 they may increase. Many airlines have reduced their fleets, so there may be more pressure resulting in increased prices. But the situation is so fluid at the moment, it's difficult to make any firm decisions. Anyway, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Maggie. Yes, I think it possibly this year it is the staycation for us. But yes, it's not easy to book anywhere, and prices are high, and everything seems to be booked up. So I think I'm going to spend my holiday in London, having days out, because at least I know where I'm sleeping that night. Next up is Kate Bull. Kate is from Hounslow Council. And Kate, do you want to let us give us your full title? Because I always get confused about what your full title is. And also, Kate will be leading into the tourism initiative that the council is launching.
Yeah, good morning. I'm the head of economic recovery and regeneration here at London Borough of Hounslow. So yes, just a small title there, which is always fun. It's a bit of a daunting task, I think, being head of economic recovery. Anyway, I'm here today to talk to you about I suppose the council trying to do our bit in terms of supporting our local businesses, in what we've kind of called initially Destination Hounslow. This is an initiative that has come from the Hounslow Together the Hounslow's recovery plan that was launched last October, and underneath the economic pillar of that. So within all the projects there, we have a kind of strong keep it local theme, which has got a number of projects underneath for it. And the broad aim of that theme is basically to keep the Hounslow pound in Hounslow, support Hounslow's businesses by ensuring that spend is wherever possible kept in Hounslow. So to that end, we've kind of done a number of projects around progressive procurement policies, comms campaigns around encouraging Hounslow businesses to look at their own supply chains and buy locally, and multimedia campaigns around encouraging local residents to shop local, spotlighting on our independents across the borough. That campaign is still running as we kind of are still in the phase of the most recent reopening. So if anybody wants their business promoted across the borough, it's been really well received. We've got a range of businesses on there. We've had the spring summer kind of innovate and grow business support, a massive program of business support on how to start up businesses, how to grow your business, how to thrive, mental health in business, all sorts of interesting things. And this project destination Hounslow. So there's been from our side, we're trying to do as much as we can, but also trying to listen as much as we can. So we're continually looking for ideas and ways we can support you guys better. So the Destination Hounslow project, I mean, the overall outcome is really basic, I suppose. Is basically to work with our partners to develop a tourism offer which will help promote Hounslow as a great place to live and do business, and a really amazing, fabulous, vibrant destination for visitors and tourists. As you all know, as local residents and businesses, we have an incredible borough in terms of the offer, from health and well-being to hotels and our amazing town centres. The food offer is incredible. Our cultural and historic offers, incredible. The kind of network of green and blue infrastructure, is just, I think, we're the third greenest borough in London. We are in such a luxurious position of having a kind of wealth of attractions to promote. But a lot of our residents don't even move across our borough. They often choose to go into central London or out of Hounslow rather than stay in Hounslow. And we're often seen as just a stop-off point on the way to or from Heathrow, and kind of people are using us as somewhere cheap to stay, to visit central London, or somewhere cheap to stay before they hop on the plane out of London. So there's something about capturing that, and also capturing, as Sally said, the people that are choosing not to go away this year and be in London, and help them explore their local borough. So we're just seeing this as an opportunity to put Hounslow on the map more, and hopefully support our businesses to collaborate and kind of really raise their profile locally, and encourage residents to explore what's on their doorstep. So it really links in with our own kind of shop local campaigns, the kind of national stay safe policies for hotels, the good to go badging that government's kind of brought out in terms of reassuring people about visitor attractions, and just all about that kind of shopping, staying and visiting locally, which we think we've got a really strong offer here in Hounslow. So how we're going to try and do that, we have a really, as all these things are always funding limited, so we have a really tight timetable to get this together, and also we kind of want to try and get an offer out there and kind of marketed before the summer holidays, before people are making those choices about where to visit for the weekend. So we've got two concurrent pieces of work, one being led by the Chamber of Commerce, which you'll hear a bit more about in a minute, so I won't go into too much about that, but that's very much about that kind of stakeholder engagement, bringing people together, kind of figuring out how best we can collaborate, creating local itineraries about kind of days out in the borough for families, for foodies, for whatever that may be. And then we've got a kind of a more nuts and bolts kind of program, which will be looking at how we can develop a clear brand and identity and kind of creative direction with a microsite and a marketing campaign, in terms of that kind of stay local for the summer, and promotion of that. Now, there's going to be obviously huge amounts of collaboration between the two. So the kind of the advice and guidance and knowledge from that kind of the tourism network or forum, or whatever it ends up being called, but the kind of group of stakeholders that gets brought together will be absolutely essential to kind of really drive that brand and kind of really make sure that we're capturing the real essence and of Hounslow, and obviously and how that brand is then promoted across Hounslow to really give us a really strong tourism offer. So there's huge interdependencies between the two. So that's all. Yeah, that's all from me. So that was just it, really, a real quick rattle through of hopefully something we are doing, which we'll take this awful situation that we all find ourselves in and try and create some opportunity out of that for local businesses. Thank you.
Here we go. Sorry, having problems with my unmuting technique. Thank you, Kate. We as a chamber are really pleased to be working with the council on this initiative. During my working day, I'm often asked to do an awful lot of things, often tech-based, which isn't really my bag. But tourism, it's something you really get your teeth into. Having lived and worked in the borough for the last, I don't know, since 1988. Sorry, no, earlier, 1980. We really need to promote Hounslow as the borough, not just to drive through from the airport into London. It's got so many wonderful sites that we need to promote. And the other day I went to the Cavalry Barracks in Hounslow West, and as I say, I've lived here for yonks, and I didn't even know that the barracks were actually there.
Oh, wow.
But I knew they were there, but I'd never actually driven past them. And so it was fascinating to go around. It's going to be the most amazing development, hopefully by Inland Homes. And it's going to have a heritage trail. They're keeping as many of the listed buildings as they can, in fact, more than they're required to. So again, that's going to put Hounslow West on the map, and we need to support our borough. Anyway, that leads in beautifully to John Coles, who is working with us on this initiative. Now, a little bit of background about John. 30 years experience in the aerospace industry, travelled extensively for business and leisure, and then in 2018 founded his own business, Q Bridge Travel, to create bespoke holidays. So his experience is as a buyer and a consumer, so his role is really a bit like a poacher turned gamekeeper. And as I say, he will be helping us with this tourism initiative. Over to you, John.
Hello, thank you, Sally. Yeah, I'm very pleased to be part of this initiative. As Sally said, I'm quite new to the tourism industry, but I've been traveling my whole life, and therefore I've seen myself as a consumer, and now in my current role as a buyer. And so I have some experience. What I do in my day job is to encourage people to travel, to advise them on where to travel, put together an itinerary, look at locations, destinations, choose hotels for them. And so that experience I like to use to help the London Borough of Hounslow attract people to this wonderful borough we live in. I've lived here myself 8 years. I do enjoy living here. I think, as Sally said, there's a lot of hidden gems here in the borough, which we don't want to hide anymore. We want to shout about. So that's really what I'm trying to do. I just have a couple of slides I'd like to share with you with the little bit more about the initiative. Okay, so as I say, I've been asked to support the initiative for a period of 6 or 7 weeks, so that we can really get this thing up and running. As Kate explained, there's an initiative which is being put forward and funded by the London Borough of Hounslow, which is called Destination Hounslow, to encourage the spend in this borough. And the Chamber of Commerce has really been asked to support that, particularly through engagement from businesses in the borough. And I think if we look at any type of destination branding, any type of, I love New York, you may remember from the 70s. If you read anything about that, there's one thing first and foremost, which is the success factor, and that is stakeholder engagement. No matter what nice brand we have, nice slogan, nice logo or whatever, it doesn't work without the stakeholder engagement. So that's first and foremost, is to get the stakeholders in the borough involved. We're going to do that by relaunching the Hounslow Tourism Forum. Now, I'm not sure how many people were aware of that or were engaged in that before. It was an initiative which really was put in place around the London Olympics in 2012, trying to encourage, again, tourists and visitors to the games to see Hounslow and to experience what we have in the borough. So we're going to relaunch, reinvigorate the forum. The idea of the forum is quite simply to bring together cultural, leisure, hospitality businesses and organizations. All those we have spoken about, the hotels, the museums, the sports facilities, the parks, everything, even of course food and restaurants are a vital part of the culture, the art centers. Trying to bring together as many stakeholders as possible will make this initiative successful. So that's really what I'm going to be driving over the coming weeks, is to encourage the involvement and participation in the council's Destination Hounslow programme, and really working with the participants to work out how can we implement the program, how can we implement it right across the borough, because ultimately the stakeholders are the ones who are going to benefit. No, the benefit of this is going to be the businesses, the hospitality businesses, the attractions, everyone in the borough are ultimately going to benefit from this. So how do we implement the program at a borough level, at a local level, even at an individual business level? And we're going to meet for the first time online on Friday, the 4th of June. This will be the first meeting of the forum. It's 2 weeks tomorrow. So what we're trying to do, and I will endeavour to do, is get as many businesses as possible to come along to that meeting, online meeting, of course, sadly, for that first meeting, but hopefully we will meet in person later in the month. So for that first meeting, and really to understand what the objectives are, set the objectives, put the plan in place, and then we will then follow up on from there as we decide to do. I haven't got all the ideas, but I've certainly got a lot of suggestions which we've put together, and welcome all sorts of suggestions from the council and from the businesses. Put that all together, and we're trying to make the forum a successful in engaging the businesses with the council. So that's the project. 2 weeks today, Friday, 4th of June. Please attend that. If it's relevant to you, please reach out to other businesses to take part in this initiative. Thank you. Okay, Sally, I can hand over to the next speaker, please.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, John. Yes, I'm remembering back in 2016, I think it was, we did we had a tourism forum meeting, and the request around the table was that we put on an event for the EAs and the PAs, so the executive and personal assistants. They wanted to know what the hotels had to offer, because they were the ones doing the bookings. So we held an event at the Union Bar in Chiswick. So it was very much driven by the stakeholder group, which is, I think, what we would like to repeat, really. So I do hope as many of you as possible can be with us on the 4th of June. Very much looking forward to it. As I say, I'm more into tourism than tech, so that I understand totally. So good that Alan's been able to join us. Well done. I hear there were tech problems this morning, but so pleased you're with us now. And that leads on to Deborah. So hopefully we'll be one of these people benefiting from this tourism initiative. Deborah, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. So thank you for the introduction, Sally. So my name is Deborah Barnes. I'm the Director of Sales at the Clayton Hotel, Chiswick, and actually is a past award winner with Hounslow Chamber for Best in Customer Service and Best in Business, although that does seem quite a long time ago now. I'm delighted to speak to you today with some actual positive news on the return regarding business travel. Now, if you can bear with me, I'm just going to turn my camera off so that I can share my screen with you, okay? Hopefully you can all see that all right. Excellent.
Yes, sir.
So for those of you who need a little refresher, well, it has been a while, Clayton Hotel Chiswick is a 227 bedroom hotel with conference and excellent event spaces. Now we're located on the Chiswick High Road, so we're opposite Gunnersbury Underground Station. We have car parking on site, which is quite key at the moment. Our Irish parent company, Delata Hotel Group, which includes the Clayton and Maldron hotels, offers 44 hotels in Ireland and 10 hotels in the UK. Now, we are still on track, even after 2020 and the year that we've all had, we are still on track and growing for the UK. So there are planned openings for Q1 2022 in Manchester, Bristol and Glasgow to open, and those are new build hotels. Hotel Chiswick is the flagship hotel in the UK, and we're one of 3 of our properties in London. And it's a really great example of the Clayton brand in terms of brand colours, design and offerings to our guest. Now, since the pandemic came into all of our lives, we've invested a huge amount of thought and procedures to keep our guests and our team safe. But I don't want you to just take my word for it. I've prepared, hopefully, a short video, which is from Pat McCann, our CEO of Delata Hotel Group. So bear with me, this is where my tech skills come into being. Can you all see that? Okay.
We can't hear it, Deborah. You might need to turn the volume up.
Hello, everybody.
We can hear it now, but we
I'm
can't see
delighted
it,
to be here
Deborah.
today
Sorry,
to tell
Deborah,
you that
we
we're
can
really
hear it, but
looking
we can't
forward
see it.
to welcoming you.
Okay, we'll just get that sorted, but you bear with me for a moment.
Of course.
I did say tech skills weren't my forte. I can
Not
do the
easy.
hospitality bit, but not the tech skills. Hang on. Are you there?
Yeah, can see it, but sound is low.
Tell you that we are really looking forward to as our guests.
It's still very quiet.
There's a couple of things that I need to tell you. First of all, the health and safety of our guests, our suppliers, and our employees are of paramount. The open space. The other thing that we need to talk about is cleaning and sanitizing. There's a lot.
Are you all okay? Can you all see that again now?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah.
I hope that helped to show you some of the efforts that have been put in place, certainly from Delata Hotel Group. All of our properties have remained open throughout the lockdown 2 and 3 for essential travel only. So that's basically meant that there's been no leisure travellers allowed through the front door. So guests that have been in-house have all needed letters of authorisation. Now, Ireland is a little bit behind us in terms of reopening, so they're still closed until later, the end of this month. But now would probably be a really good time to explain that most unusually, all Clayton and Maldron hotels are decentralised. So the decisions are taken at property level and our teams are all based within the hotels. From the 17th of May, this last Monday, we've all had new rules to protect our guests and to work by. So since being fully open, we've seen a large pent-up demand for domestic travel. So there's a real hunger in the market, certainly locally, to get things or try and get things back to normal. I think guests are very reassured by our space of rooms. We've got 25 square metres being the smallest of our bedrooms. The space, as Pat was outlining there, about the spaces around in our lobby area, and as John was talking about, the green spaces within and surrounding us. So we've still got that easy access into London, and I think with the car parking, all of those factors really contribute really well to why we've become so successful so quickly. International travel or international business travel in any volume, I don't think we will see any of that. I mean, the feedback that we're getting from our corporates is that we're not going to see any of that until at least the end of quarter 4, maybe early 2022. And on the meeting side, we're seeing a huge take-up of hybrid meetings. So that's where we're seeing 30 delegates in the room and then 30 delegates dialing in. As staff do return to their offices and to incorporate their social distancing, companies are using any on-site or any within the business meeting space that they can to spread out and get that social distancing. So we're finding that there's been a really good take-up on a very short lead of meeting spaces so that we can be an extension of the offices for that client. Oh, sorry, bear with me a moment. So in summary, I think guests want to feel secure, they want to feel comfortable, and they want to feel confident. Now, post-COVID, some things will stay. So the QR codes that are in the meeting rooms now, that are on every mirror in every bedroom, will replace the old-fashioned printed hotel information and the in-room room service dining menus. And despite things like removing all unnecessary touch points in the rooms, like throws and decorative cushions and hairdryer bags, I think hospitality and flexibility are still very much the key words. So I just wanted to share with you what TripAdvisor have said about us, and this is actually from Monday. So this is guest feedback, where we've actually had so many fantastic comments from guests who, even though, you know, guests, our staff are all wearing masks, our staff are behind perspex screens, we're having to step back as opposed to walk forward, which is in our general nature, we're still getting 100% scores, which is excellent. And now over to you if you have any questions for me, and I'm just going to pop my camera back on. I'll just stop sharing my screen, and there we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Deborah. Thank you. I think Alan has now joined us. So, Alan, do you want to say a few words, or are you happy not to? Up to you.
After all this effort to finally
Yeah, but you better say a few words.
can I do but say yes to that question? I'm sorry, Deepak, I missed your presentation. I was very much looking forward to hearing it because I've driven past Brightsun so many times. And frankly, I've heard so many good things and recommendations from people in the borough to use your travel agency. I've got to do it sooner or later. I just wanted to add in to some of the things that people have said, especially taking up John Coles's comment about finding the gems in our borough. It sounds like we've engaged a Harrison Ford to find the gems in Hounslow. We've heard about the best hotels we've got in London from Deborah. We've heard about the TV stars that we've got living in our borough in Chiswick. Every night when we watch the television, they pop up in front of us. We see some of the best film stars, a whole range of them that also live in Chiswick. We've got some of the best sports stars, like Mo Farah, who comes from the borough. We've got some of the best music stars like Brian May and Freddie Mercury, who comes from the borough. And if you want to go down the environmental line, David Attenborough. So David Attenborough was born in the borough. So how many more things do we need to have going for us before we can shout out loud enough, come on tourists, you need to come and visit Hounslow properly. So those are the few things I wanted to say, Sally. Was that enough?
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, we've got a few moments to go. Well, about 10, 15 minutes. There's a few questions in the that have been sent through. Right, one of them is from one of our directors. I mean, I'm not sure. I think this is more of a question for Maggie. Will America be open in July? And what is needed if you've already had 2 jabs? What other paperwork is needed? And how expensive is it all going to be?
I'm very much hoping they are going to open in July. We hear lots of rumours to that effect. And I think Mr. Biden and Boris are going to talk fairly soon. And again, I'm hoping that if you've had 2 jabs, America will let us in. It just depends on what requirements that we make on people travelling, which I said earlier. And as a cost at the moment, the airfares are really pretty reasonable. So it is worth holding a seat, which we can do, or anybody can do, and they can be cancelled, before you have to pay for them. But it's worth looking into doing that now, and also booking accommodation. America, most parts of America are doing pretty well for tourism at the moment because they've got such a huge domestic market. But again, they're very competitive. And there are lots of really good hotel prices around.
Okay, and yeah, Alan, over to you.
I've got a holiday rental property 1 mile from the main gate of Visney, and we've been full for the last 6 months, but full with domestic American and Canadian tourists. We got our first inquiry for somebody from the UK last week, and they were looking to get a quote for October. So given that Joe Biden said that he's going to have the whole of America vaccinated by American Independence Day, the 4th of July, you can sort of take it that it probably won't be done by then, but it's a dream. But they'll put on a bit of a show and tell you it's all been done. I think a few months down the line, it'll be a lot safer. So perhaps later this year, we might find that a bit more of an amber light has changed to a green light for that destination, or at least I'm hoping so as well.
Absolutely. Apparently, we bring $4 billion into America with our tourism from the UK, so that's a lot. So they need us back.
And I hate to think how many American tourists come to London.
Absolutely, Alan.
And what we need to try and shout loudly about is to get them to move into Deborah's hotel for a bit longer than just a week and discover not just what goes on in the West End of London, but what's going on in the west part of London in our borough.
Very much so. John, maybe this is one for you. If you are able to travel, I mean, I think it was you, Maggie, that said you didn't think it was going to become the privilege of the wealthy. I'm just a little bit worried that there's an awful lot of hassle if you do want to travel. You've got to get you've got to book your PCR tests, you've got to pay for them, your passenger locator forms. your COVID test 3 days before you travel home. I mean, this all takes an awful lot of organisation. John, do you want to elaborate a bit more on that?
Well, yes, I think that's the situation at the moment. The government has, allowed us to travel as of this Monday, only this Monday, literally 4 days ago, allowed us to travel. But there is so much confusion about the regulations. The government themselves are hopelessly confused, as you said at the start of your presentation. But the regulations are really quite complicated. There's regulations in the UK concerning travel to all destinations, including green list destinations, which require the PCR test be taken in the destination 3 days before traveling home. Then there's, of course, regulations concerning the overseas country. So Portugal has regulations, Iceland has regulations, which are all actually quite difficult to read if you go onto the Icelandic government website, difficult to interpret. And then, of course, the hotels, the tour operators, the insurance companies, there's a lot of complexity there. I think, I echo the words of Deepak and Maggi. It's a complex situation. Do get advice, and that's why going to particularly an atoll bonded tour operator, travel agent is so important, because they know what they're doing, but the money is safe. So I think there has, of course, been in the past a lot of people going online to book flights and book holidays. That doesn't give you very much protection. So at this time, seek advice and get the atoll protection. The other thing I would say is that it's changing daily. The whole situation is absolutely changing daily. So even if you understand the rules today, they're going to be different tomorrow. They're going to be different on Monday. They're changing very rapidly in this country. They're changing very rapidly in the destination country. One thing I will say is probably they're all changing in a positive direction. But that's not lose hope. That's not give up hope. The vaccination program is working. It's being rolled out very successfully in this country, in the USA, quite successfully now in the EU. The EU is now catching up with us. It's going to take more time before a lot of countries in the Far East catch up with the vaccination program, but they will. So I don't, don't want to sound so, it's a difficult situation, it's a horrible situation, but things are moving in the positive direction. And I think we can all feel confident that it will improve in due course.
So basically, in the meantime, we need to be staying at home, keeping everybody safe, and visiting our lovely borough of Hounslow. I think that sort of says it all, really. A quick one, I was thinking, so if somebody flies to Portugal, they have their lovely 2-week holiday, and then they have their test at the end of the holiday, and one of them tests positive, then what happens? Because they wouldn't be allowed to fly home, so there they are without anywhere to go. I mean, how does that work?
Well, I think you've interpreted the rules correctly. Is that there is a requirement for a PCR test in Portugal to be taken within 3 days of the journey home. And that person will then need to have the family needs to have a negative PCR test to show at the border. Once again, what happens? Well, I guess it depends on how it was booked and what the regulations with the tour operator or the travel agent who booked and who's going to help you. But no, it is a requirement. You might, if one of your party has a God forbid a positive test, it's likely they will not be allowed on the plane, and they are breaking the law by arriving at the UK border with that. So really they should stay in the destination. How they do that,
Well, Sally, I can probably comment on that. Essentially, there are insurances which are being now promoted by various tourism boards. So in order to encourage you to come to their country, they are offering you free insurance, as well as many airlines are building that into their air prices. So for example, almost for 9 months, Emirates has had a COVID insurance that if you were to fly in Emirates, you are actually protected throughout your journey. as long as you have flown Emirates. If I look at Costa Rica, you have a $60,000 insurance when you enter the country. So there are various initiatives, but I think the issue here is the complexity of this and navigating through all of these various, conditions, who has and who doesn't. And I guess what needs to happen is there needs to be a global body, such as, let's say, I would say in our case, IATA, because it seems to be a global industry. It could be World Tourism Council, needs to come in and say, right, every single government, please charge $20 or $50 or whatever it may be upon entry and cover every single customer in case something happens. And there needs to be a global unified event. Now, obviously, we're trying to do that through APTA and APTA lobbying various other councils, but unfortunately, a lot of the world is very slow in picking this up. And this really needs to be done globally. As Maggie already said, I think between the US and UK, this can happen very easily. And if the US opens, it'll be such a huge opportunity for tourism to get back started for the UK industry. So let's wait and see, but it has to be a global effort.
Thank you, Deepak. We've received an email question. What does the panel see as being the key challenges and the main differences of establishing a tourism offer for a local market versus a nationwide audience? Very interesting. Who would like to have a go at that? John.
Well, I can talk about that, and I think that it's a very, very good question, because almost there is a dichotomy there, because an argument which says stay local, spend local to the residents in the borough is quite different to a message which is to someone living in Birmingham or Manchester or Norwich, which is saying, when you come to think about a staycation, think about West London, because Hounslow offers so much more. So there is a difference there. I think the main difference, of course, is one with hotels, one accommodation. So for the local audience, that is very much going to be to in many cases open their eyes to what we have on our doorstep and encourage people to, as Alan said, move from the east to the west to the east. So that's going to be very much a day trip or an afternoon out, explaining to them how they can just have a pleasant experience by going to Isleworth and sitting by the river in Isleworth and going to the London Apprentice in Isleworth for a drink, for example. So that's going to be a focus on afternoons, days out, understanding the museums we have and the cultural activities we have locally. I think for the say the UK domestic market, then it has to be very much hotel focused. And I think that's why it's very important that we're engaging with Deborah and the Clayton and the many other hotels. There are something like 30 plus hotels, plus many bed and breakfasts in the borough. And they stand to benefit more than anyone from the domestic tourists who are coming here. And almost once they're here, we can think of them as being a local resident. So what we sell to a local resident in terms of the activities and the attractions to visit here, we actually can sell to a person once they are staying in a hotel here. So I think the difference is really it's the hotels which are key to getting the UK domestic tourism here.
Interesting, because what I always, my biggest beef is you go to a hotel and they have a stand with leaflets about attractions, and usually the attractions are sort of like Warwick Castle or Blenheim, and they're miles away, and you think, why can't we have more local attractions?
Yes, exactly, and that's exactly what I mean. So once a person is committed, even before they come here, they've committed to come to stay at the Clayton Hotel. Then we have the opportunity to treat them as a Hounslow resident and show them all the good things they can do here in the borough.
Yeah,
actually,
you won't find. Oh, I've got a really bad echo. Sorry, you won't find leaflets on Warwick Castle in our lobby area. For a start, we've removed all touch points. But what I would say is that if you go into the lift, you've got a digital display in the lift that talks about Chiswick Park and Gardens, Gunnersbury Park, Kew Gardens, all the local places that you can actually visit that are on the doorstep. We're also doing quite a lot to promote cycling along the towpath and fresh air, lots of outside spaces. And just John's point about targeting the domestic market, we're very fortunate because of the distribution of the UK properties. We've been able to use quite a lot of the network within our properties in Manchester and Cambridge and Leeds, and focus, who already know the Clayton brand, and focus them coming into London. And I think there's a massive benefit for the space side of it. So you've got large bedrooms. You don't get that in central London. You don't get a hotel room with a 25 square metre space to relax and spread out a bit. You don't have large lobbies. Notoriously, they are much more sort of chic, what's the word, bespoke, intimate, I would say. So I think it's positive. I can really see, I know Deepak was talking earlier, and he had some really tough points to put across there, but in the last 4 days, I can honestly say that we've seen some really positive green shoots of recovery. So yeah, all positive from this side, thanks. So come and see us soon, okay? You can come. You can have coffee inside now in the warm, where you're not going to get rained on.
Are you saying an extra 10 minutes on the tube gets you 50% extra room space?
Exactly, yeah.
And also so many other things to see as well. I mean, often you go to a place. I mean, my husband and I, we often go, so for example, to Valencia for a week, and you first of all do the further afield things, and then you do the more sort of central to where you're staying, because you're getting exhausted by the end of your week. So I'm thinking, yes, encourage people to come, and then do the London bits, but then do the Hounslow bits.
Actually, London really has so many rooms available, and it's open for staycations. It's the one area that isn't full, I would say, in the country.
I think we need to do some hotel lobby inspections, Sally, to make sure people are advertising local destinations as well as further afield. Yeah. Sally, can I ask you a question now? You ask everybody else questions today. I'm going to turn the tables on you. You often quote a lovely phrase that I'd love you to say today about the reasons why you get fed up with queuing to go into Kew Gardens, and what's on our side of the river that's just good.
Absolutely, yes. Do not forget Syon Park and Gardens. It is the most beautiful hidden little garden. Well, not little, it is quite large.
Little.
And you don't have to book. You don't have to faff about with your phone, finding the ticket and stand in the queue outside Kew Gardens. So just wander, and also the new garden centre, Hilliers, has opened, and there's a lovely coffee shop. So, all in all, it's a day out. I went there over the weekend and bumped into a very old friend. So, yeah, it is really a day out. Hilliers and garden, Syon Park and Gardens.
And we've got a huge event coming to our part of West London at Syon Park House, where you've got the London Classic Car Show at the end of next month, which we will be doing a huge amount of advertising on to drum up some business here locally, and we already are, for some classic car enthusiasts.
It's a bit like when the Olympics came to Stratford. Do you remember? Boris was the mayor then, wasn't he? And he was going around sort of saying London is open, because so many people were just going to the Olympic site and they weren't actually going into London. So I think then that had the knock-on effect that they liked what they saw when they came to see the Olympics, and then the following year they came back to London. So we just need to make a song and dance about Hounslow. I mean, the fact we've got the Brentford Stadium opening, and now people are coming there to see matches. I mean, Alan and I saw a London Irish match on Tuesday. In fact, Deborah, were you there as well?
I was there as well. Yeah.
Yes, we were outplayed, but there you go. But it was great. People there are there seeing Brentford in a different light. So hopefully they'll come back and have a look and see what else there is. I mean, the pubs in Brentford are lovely on the Strand on the Green. So there's an awful lot out there that we just need to shout about. Anyway, I'm
need to
looking at the
uncover
time.
some of these gems. We've got Harrison Ford to do it.
Yes, well done, John. Lovely. We're now 6 minutes past 11, so I think it's time to call it a day. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Please do look out for our emails about the initiative which we're setting up. And the first sort of open forum meeting is the 4th of June at 10 o'clock via Zoom. So very much, hope to see you there, Deborah, Maggie, and John, definitely, and also you, Deepak. It would be lovely to get your insight. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Go carefully. All right.
Please all join in the travel forum.
I will do.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
One quick thing. Yes, NLET, the new London Educational Trust. They are offering free training for people in the hospitality sector. Please email me for information. Plug over.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.